Not every villain wants to be Sabretooth, and not every villain can be. Described by Wolverine to be the traveling roadshow version of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, we are looking at a bit of a circus act. This iteration of the quirky crew is from Marvel Comics Presents 105 to 108, featuring Wolverine and Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler was a circus boy, and one of his old friends tipped him off about some dangerous monsters posing as humans. The monsters posing as humans part was right, dangerous, not so much. The monsters pretty quickly surrendered to Wolverine and Nightcrawler, and it didn't take long for the pair to realize the fake humans weren't the real monsters. That would be Nightcrawler's childhood friend that runs the Roadshow Brotherhood. The gaggle of villains are strange, no way around that. They are all supercharged versions of your classic circus acts. There is a bearded lady. She can control her facial hair so she can make it grow really long and trap you in it. The strong man is just really extra strong. There are clowns. I don't know what powers they have. They bite a lot. Feral ankle biting energy, I guess. The circus was used by a scientist for experimentation purposes, and in return they got powers to fight the monsters. Wolverine puts an end to Nightcrawler's deranged former childhood friend, and unfortunately the monsters are no more by the end of the issue 2. They do forgive the humans forgive the monsters, but there are no monsters at the end, unfortunately, and no circus either, fortunately though. Pink Lady is so fun. I kinda wanna be her. She isn't so much a villain as she is a general troublemaker. Her and Wolverine crossed paths because Wolverine was tasked with capturing the pink mink. When the pink mink is exposed to oxygen, the Pink Lady appears, and here on Earth we have a lot of oxygen, so she spent some time here in Toronto, Canada when she was captured by Hunter Joe. To retrieve her, Wolverine teamed up with Dupe. Pink Lady had limited hypnotic powers and unlimited teleportation abilities. She was in search of fun. Girls just want to have fun, cannot blame her for that. Beastmaster was originally just a guy. He got his powers when the fire fountain was created in Midgard. I'm going to mention this because it's such a crazy choice. Loki was told to do something good for Midgard, so he decided to create the fire fountain that would grant people powers. To test it, he decided to cause Madeline Pryor's plane to fall out of the sky, but that's okay because he was also then going to give everyone on the plane powers so they would survive the crash. Truly an insane choice on his part. Anyway, that's how Beastmaster got his powers. The power in question was the ability to control animals. He was a zoologist, and his niche interest was the relationship between predator and prey. He really thought that mutants were going to take over mankind because they were more powerful than your average human. Obviously, because a plane containing mutants was attacked in the sky, the X-Men, including Wolverine and Alpha Flight, showed up to investigate. Snowbird had gone missing, so Beastmaster offered to help find her, but instead, the shady guy was trying to get Wolverine out of the picture because he was the only one of the X-Men that stood a chance at finding Snowbird. Eventually, Wolverine does get back in the game, finds Snowbird, and defeats Beastmaster. Beastmaster gives up his powers at the end of all of this, and he's never seen again. Black Shadow and White Shadow were one mutant. This mutant's name went unrevealed, but Wolverine gifted him the nickname of Man Mountain, so there's that. The mutant in question had multiple personality disorder, and that went hand in hand with his mutant status because he was capable of generating shadow energy forms. So for two of his personalities, he had two shadowy figures, Black Shadow and White Shadow. The shadows were very strong and had energy blasting powers. Though they were called shadows, they didn't have to act like it. They could be solid when they wanted to. Black Shadow was destruction. Everything it saw was fair game to be messed up. White Shadow was set on stopping Black Shadow, and the mutant, he was trapped in an asylum while the shadows ransacked the city. While fighting each other, the two shadows could release enough energy to level cities. Not great. Wolverine had a friend that met his end to Black Shadow, so that's when he stepped in. They brawled a few times, but it all came to an end when Wolverine fought the shadows in the asylum. Wolverine's claws put an end to their shadowy destruction. Catman is so clearly making fun of Wolverine, I have to laugh. I know that probably wasn't the original intention for the character since he didn't fight Wolverine initially. He was more of a Daredevil villain, but he looks like he's making fun of Wolverine, and that's what counts. Catman, formerly Townsend Hogan, is part of the criminal group called the xmen. They were men turned to different animals and got their characteristics. They all had their respective animals in their names, so you don't have to think too hard about who's who. Catman's fit is so similar to Wolverine's. Wolverine is blue and yellow. Catman is more of a periwinkle and yellow. Catman and Wolverine brawl with each other in X-Men 95, and honestly, Catman almost won, but Colossus stepped in and threw Catman away. And then the X-Men defeated the Animen and all was well. Catman Batman went on to fight Iron Man and got trapped in a building that blew up, and he wasn't seen again, so we think he may have died. There are variants of the character out there, and his name has been revived later on, but Townsend is presumed deceased. I don't know how to say this villain's name. Every pronunciation I've looked up has been different. It's spelled Uncegila. I'm gonna say it Unsahila, and now the villain will be known as Miss U. Miss U is a demon, specifically a demon that resides in the ground. She terrorizes the local indigenous communities, ruining the soil used to grow food, killing the wildlife, all around. She was not something that the community wanted, and Wolverine was going to put an end to her. Wolverine and his teammate for this story, Blind Owl, went to attack the demon in her cave. She was very tough to take down. Eventually, removing her heart did the trick, and the day was saved. Wolverine's history is confusing. With every one thing added, 10 things unravel themselves or need to be explained. In this case, with the release of Wolverine Origin, Ronald Byrd explained that Wolverine didn't remember everything with Miss U because it was really traumatizing, and so his brain suppressed it. Then later, when he sees the skeletal remains of Miss U, does he recall the event. Miss U is based on a real legend in Sioux mythology of the same name. She looked similar to how Marvel would have drawn her, a big reptile. She was later sometimes referred to as the American Dragon. Smoke and Succubus appeared in the X-Force comics along with Wolverine, who was only there to boost sales in his words. Not much is known about the villains since they appeared and disappeared just as quick. Smoke is a cloud of smoke, pretty simple there. The mutant turns into a smoke cloud, but he can still be hurt. Sure, something small like a paper cut won't do anything while he's in his gas form, but Wolverine sliced right across the middle, and the two halves of smoke never came back together. So how useful are his smoke powers really? Succubus was not a lizard, but she looked like one. She had a tongue that was long, so that meant she could grab things with it. She appeared very strong and has pointy teeth and claws. Neither of the two villains survived past their second appearance in X-Force 120. Slith was an inhuman living in the Himalayan mountains. He had a monstrous mutation in which he would turn into a serpent form and wreak havoc. He was told to attack and end Logan when he was in the mountains. We have to give him credit for trying, he almost got him. Logan though is the best and incredibly hard to kill, so he survived. Slith did get a win, even though it was the last thing they ever did. Slith has pointy fangs in the palm of his hands that presumably have poison in them, but Wolverine has a really good healing factor, so instead of putting him into a permanent sleep, it was just a little nap for him. Slith is now a permanent fixture in the Himalayan mountains. Cool concept though. In 1993, Marvel produced the comic Wolverine Global Jeopardy in cooperation with the World Wildlife Fund, and the villain in this, the Conservator, has a point. Not to be a villain, but his heart was in the right place, I think. His entire thing was just trying to save endangered animals. Not much is known about the Conservator, as his real name was never revealed and the issue was a one-shot, so he got very limited backstory, but I'm gonna assume he was rich. The guy had access to extremely advanced tech and was able to completely own an island and build an animal sanctuary there. Personally, I think we should have let him cook. He literally was saving animals on the verge of extinction by taking them to this island sanctuary. He was fed up watching humanity destroy the planet and its animal populations, so he took matters into his own hands and left society behind. Because he was technically, like, stealing animals, he was found out by Wolverine and a few other heroes, and they tracked him to the island. I don't know why he does it, but the villain goes slightly off script and decides to trap the heroes on the island. Luckily, Devil Dinosaur breaks into the building and frees them. The heroes help the Conservator realize that spending his time trapping animals on the island is a waste of his passion and that he should be out educating the world instead. The sanctuary is kept running. He just signs it over to the authorities as a wildlife preserve resort, while he is able to go and give speeches about preserving wildlife around the world. A happy ending overall. I still think he should have been left to do what he wanted to do. Controversial to side with the villain, I'm sorry. Let me know what you think down below. We are looking at a different Shadow now, Blood Shadow. I think Blood Shadow is a really cool and smart villain concept. They should bring him back. Sorry, spoiler, but Blood Shadow met a bloody end at the claws of, shockingly, Wolverine. That happened in Marvel Comics Presents 136, and Blood Shadow had only been around since issue 132, so a short run, but an iconic run nonetheless. Blood Shadow's mutant ability was telepathy. What I think is neat is he must have trained himself on the human body and what nerves to hit to make someone pass out. So he will not only know your next move in a fight using his telepathy, he will do that and also calculate in his head what nerve bundles he will have have access to in that moment and press them so that you pass out. It makes Blood Shadow leave most fights unscathed and his opponents crumpled. There was one time in his final appearance that Blood Shadow took the telepathy too far. He was just trying to mess with Wolverine's head, but accidentally unlocked Wolverine's basic animal killer instincts, and soon Blood Shadow was nothing more than a puddle of, well, blood. Thanks so much for watching, y'all. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and make your mark on the comment section down below. Let me know your favorite Wolver villain. This is Juliana signing off. See you later.